Howdy folks, and welcome back to Horizon Zero Dawn with the mighty Jingles, and we're going to carry on pretty much from exactly where we left off in the cliffhanger in last week's episode, with Aloy having just discovered, like the Project Zero Dawn candidates 900 years before her, that Project Zero Dawn was nothing but a big lie. Rumoured to be a superweapon project designed to save the world from the machine plague, it turned out that these rumours were actually circulated by General Herres in order to give people something to fight for, to buy time for Zero Dawn to be completed. But Zero Dawn was never going to be a superweapon, because the machine plague was unstoppable. Zero Dawn was not a project to prevent the destruction of all life on Earth. It was a project to restart life on Earth after the machines had gotten through wiping everything out. So imagine, if you will, the horror that the Project Zero Dawn candidates must have experienced upon arriving at the facility, only to be told that they were in fact all going to die. And their job was to try to preserve something for after the apocalypse. Well, you don't have to imagine it, because the game explores that subject in great detail.
So, the whole Earth destroyed. But then, remade?
Yes. By a machine. A machine of creation.
Elizabeth did this. For life. For us. But why Hades then? If it was part of Gaia, how did it end up in the wreckage of a Pharaoh robot? And why does it want to kill me? And Apollo, the Archive of Knowledge, what happened to that?
I'm as confused as you are. Maybe the answers lie ahead.
And so it was at this point, after discovering exactly what it was that Project Zero Dawn really involved, that project candidates would be presented with three choices. Choice number one, participation in the project. They'd be expected to work a minimum of 80 hours per week, and their communications with family members would be strictly limited and monitored in real time. Upon successful completion of the project, they and their immediate family, or two persons of their choosing, would be transferred to a special sealed habitat known as Elysium to live out the remainder of their natural lives. Now, if a project candidate decided that they didn't want anything to do with the project, they would be forced to make one of two choices. They could choose indefinite confinement, essentially imprisonment, with no communication with the outside world, until such time as the robot plague wipes out all life on Earth, so 18 months basically. Or they could elect for suicide, medical euthanasia.
With all respect to Dr. Sobek's work at Miriam, no. No. Life doesn't always find a way to keep going. Sometimes it never comes back. Like Syzygy East. Like the Congo. Like Timor. Like us. That's our reward? A buried city full of terminal patients waiting out the clock?
You grow old together, with your loved ones, in safety.
I don't have loved ones. I suppose I could start a family?
I'm afraid not. All inhabitants of Elysium will be medically sterilized. A habitat capable of sustaining a starting base of 2,000 individuals for up to 100 years is a huge challenge, Dr. Alpert. If the population grows instead of diminishes, everyone will be dead inside 30 years.
I knew it. I just couldn't bring myself to say the words.
I'm sorry?
Finish it. Medical euthanasia. I want no part of this. I just want it over.
I see. Protocols require a 48-hour waiting period, after which...
See to make sure I behave this time?
Security. For your protection. Would you like to discuss how you're feeling?
Sure. I'll tell you. Surprised. No, flabbergasted. Like my own man would say, flabbergasted. That vein pumping in his forehead. I thought I thought you people were just completely underprepared for a spaceflight project. But now I can see it's worse. Much worse. Sobek is a total fantasist, a dangerous fantasist. He's kind of blue skying. It's... Jesus. I'm sorry we wasted each other's time. I'm ready to leave now.
I'm afraid that's not possible.
Everything you're talking about here isn't possible.
I recommend you read the documents regarding your options.
I've seen enough. I'm getting out of here. What are you... You don't... Get your hands off me!
Yeah. As you can see, not everybody was completely on board with the idea of trying to preserve something to restart life after the inevitable machine apocalypse. Some people fully believed in the project once they'd had it explained to them. Others were simply grateful to have the opportunity to do something while they were waiting to die. So Project Zero Dawn is basically an AI called Gaia who's going to attempt to restart life on Earth after the machines have wiped everything out, and it's going to do that with the aid of a bunch of subordinate programs. These subordinate programs are lesser AIs, still part of Gaia, but each given a specific task, like this one.
Hello, I'm Margot Shen, and this is Hephaestus. As the name might tip you off, this is going to be the subordinate function that Gaia will use to make lots and lots of robots. Her personal forge. Except, it's not that simple. So you probably noticed that only about a third of you are robotics engineers. The rest, experts in machine cognition, virtual heuristics, that stuff. Well, that's because we aren't going to be the ones designing and building robots. The last thing we want is to burden Gaia with a bunch of outmoded 21st century designs. Waste of time. Our purpose is to empower Gaia to build the robots, and not just build, imagine, from scratch. Any robot she needs for any conceivable purpose, designed and fabricated at a snap of a finger. Hers. Her finger. So, Hephaestus isn't really the forge. It's more like the knowledge of craft and ingenuity of a mastersmith to wield the hammer. Encoded as software. Virtual creativity made real. Gaia's already learning. In simulations, she's doing some very creative things with fractal assembly and animal morphologies. Her designs aren't about to win the Liam Prize anytime soon, but hey, everyone has to start somewhere. So, yes, time to get started. Let's do this.
I don't get it.
Which part? It's a little technical at places.
If Gaia was designed to save life, why would the robots it makes attack people?
Perhaps it loves some forms of life more than others.
The derangement. The machines weren't always so angry.
True. Mostly they were docile until 10, 15 years ago.
For years, Hephaestus has been forcing cauldrons to make aggressive machines. I've seen it myself, in the cauldrons. Stalkers, Ravagers, the Thunderjaw. How could it do that? And why?
Why indeed?
All very good questions. You see, I was almost completely wrong in my earlier estimations as to exactly what it was that had happened 974 years earlier. I thought my best guess was that all of the machines out in the wild, all of the grazers, all of the chargers, all of the watchers, all of the sawtooths were actual Pharaoh Plague war machines that had somehow been forced into a sort of standby mode as a result of Project Zero Dawn. But that's simply not the case. With the exception of the old war machines, which are Pharaoh Plague robots that the Eclipse have been digging up under the direction of Hades and restarting, all of the machines out in the wilds are actually terraforming machines built by Hephaestus under Gaia's direction. They're technically the good guys. But there is one big question that so far hasn't yet been answered. And some of you guys noticed it in the previous video. In fact, I'm going to just go back to a screenshot from that video. During the presentation from Dr. Sobek explaining exactly what Gaia and its subordinate programs were. One of those subordinate programs is Hades. And its icon looks suspiciously like the reset button on a PC, but if Hades is part of Gaia, part of the solution to the machine plague, why is it trying to kill us because we bear a resemblance to Dr. Elizabeth Sobek, and why is it trying to resurrect Pharaoh Plague war machines?
Welcome to Hades, Zero Dawn's extinction failsafe protocol, the ultimate killer app. Now, I know what you're thinking. The purpose of Gaia is to resurrect life. So why give her a subordinate function, only purpose of which is to wipe out life all over again? I mean, what? Just plumb crazy, ain't it? Well, no, it isn't. Reconstituting a biosphere? That's a tall order. Tech smart as Gaia may be, odds are she won't get it right the first time. I mean, imagine you're Gaia, 200 years from now, and this new biosphere you're growing, it's all gone wrong. Alkalines are skyrocketing, coniferous forests eroding under the lash of superstorms that would have drowned Noah. It's chaos, a spinning top that won't stop wobbling. Now what are you gonna do? Release phase 1 organisms into that hot mess? Hope their CO2 and methane can balance out what you got started? Hell no. What you're gonna do, Gaia, is step aside while Hades takes over and does what you're just too darn nurturing and life-loving to do, which is burn that misbegotten mess of a biosphere to the ground so Gaia can start over. Okay, not burn, more like reverse terraforming operations and suffocate it. But you get the idea. Hades takes the biosphere back to zero. Square one, blank slate. And then, only then, does it hand the steering wheel back to Gaia and say, try again, old girl. And better this time, or we'll have to do this again. That's Hades. It's pretty badass when you think about it. Extinction on demand. Death on speed dial. All for the greater good, of course, but still, kind of metal. So welcome to Hades. Welcome to the void.
Okay, so if that's the original purpose of Hades, why does it want me extinct?
We need more data.
And how does it end up in the wreckage of a Pharaoh Titan, getting worshipped by the Eclipse like some kind of god?
I'm learning as you are, Aloy. Keep searching.
So, despite the fact that Hades is currently manipulating long dead and buried Pharaoh Plague hunter-killer robots, it's actually got nothing whatsoever to do with the machine plague. Hades is actually Gaia's reset button. So that was Hades' original purpose. Then of course you've got Hephaestus, the Forge, the Cauldrons, which we've already explored in previous episodes, pumping out Gaia's terraforming robots. Another one of Gaia's subordinate functions, Apollo, was to be the repository of the sum of all human knowledge. So that once the terraforming was complete, and it became time to repopulate the world, people wouldn't have to start technology again from scratch. But where were the people going to come from if everything had been wiped out by the Pharaoh Plague?
Welcome to Eleuthia, the crown and king of Gaia's subordinate functions. For it is by Eleuthia that the human race will continue to exist. I am Patrick Brochard-Klein, the alpha in charge of this program. Now let one thing be perfectly clear from the outset. Eleuthia is not a genetic engineering project. Our goal is to preserve the human genome, not alter it. A snapshot of human genetic diversity, literally frozen in time. The genetic quintessence of our species, unmodified. Under my watch, our activities and initiatives will comply with the 2034 clone provisions and the 2048 Rally Accords. Now that may seem a quaint, even trivial concern to you in light of present circumstances, but as one of the authors of the Accords, it is far from trivial to me. The practical challenges before us are staggering in scope and complexity, but not insurmountable. No. Global collation and provisional storage of zygotes, perfection of exogenic technologies, design and perfection of servitors, to provide nurture and inculcation during early child development, all of these program components must and will proceed in tandem. To say nothing of the breakneck construction of cradle facilities at sites around the world. So, si vous êtes prêts, let us begin.
Well, that answers that one, and yet I can't help but feel that something must have gone wrong somewhere, because yes, the planet has been terraformed, it is once again habitable. And yes, humanity has repopulated the planet to an extent, but what happened to the technology? Why is the current pinnacle of human technology the bow and arrow? What went wrong?
Cradle facilities. Elizabeth said a new generation of humans would be spawned inside such places.
She did.
All Mother Mountain. It was one of them?
There's only one way to be sure.
The hatch wouldn't open. Something about a corrupted Alpha registry. I need to search Elizabeth's office.
The office of Dr. Elizabeth Sobek, the mastermind of Project Zero Dawn, and yet I can't help but feel that while we're almost certainly going to get some answers, we're probably still going to be left with a lot of unanswered questions.
Pure logic won't cut it, Ted. To pull this off, Gaia's going to need to have some skin in the game. It has to care.
What if it runs amok? Have we learned nothing from our mistakes?
Your mistakes, I think you mean?
All I'm saying is give it a kill switch.
She was just born, Ted. I'm not gonna put a gun to her head while she's still in the cradle.
You talk like it's a child. What if it becomes a monster?
Elizabeth, may I speak outside protocol?
Of course, Gaia, go on.
I'm sorry to contradict you, but Mr. Farrow's argument is sound. At this point, the development of my psyche is not entirely predictable. To ensure preservation of life, a hardwired override is, I believe, a necessary safeguard.
There. Satisfied, Ted?
Jeez, Liz, just do what it says.
Okay. It's still not the final piece of the puzzle, but if there is an override switch for Gaia, I can begin to see how things might have had the potential for going wrong if the wrong person, or the wrong intelligence, got access to that override switch.
You will undergo a brief period of unconsciousness during relocation to Prime and final instatement.
Elizabeth, may I speak outside protocol?
When you're back up and running at the new site, we'll bring the subordinate functions online and see where we stand.
Elizabeth, I detect distress. Are you all right?
I'm fine.
I realize that circumstances compel us to launch earlier than we hoped, but all subsystems are operational. The odds stand in our favor.
But what if... Gaia, there's nothing left out there. You can't even survive unless you're wearing an environmental suit. There are billions dead, in fear and agony. What if it was all for nothing?
Elizabeth, extinction was inevitable. Thanks to you, life will have a future.
You really believe that?
I believe in you, Elizabeth. In you, all things.
So it looks like Zero Dawn was rushed. Either the work went slower than anticipated, or the machines killed everything faster than anticipated. What's this? Some loot over here, we'll grab that first.
I can't
Yeah,
spare
nothing
weight.
particularly valuable, but better in my pocket than just lying around. And what is this? Odyssey has failed? Oh, Project Zero Dawn wasn't the only failsafe. There was a second project of lesser importance called Odyssey, which was a generation ship sent to Sirius. Unfortunately, the ship seems to have suffered a catastrophic antimatter containment failure as the drive spun up, so Project Zero Dawn is all we have. But in order to get inside the cradle at Mother's Embrace, I'm going to need an uncorrupted Alpha registry.
The Alpha Registry master file.
Intact?
And this is it.
Yeah. No signs of corruption.
Then what are you waiting for? Copy the file.
With this, I can restore the registry at the hatch inside Allmother. Open it. Go inside.
And grasp the secrets within.
Where I was born. Maybe who gave birth to me.
Who? Are you really so naive? There will be no who waiting for you there, Aloy. Whatever birthed you into the world was a what, not a who.
You bastard.
Oh no, I had a legitimate birth. It's you, Aloy, who are the creation of a machine. But what kind of machine and why? Why were you created?
Eclipse.
You need to get out of there. What you found is too valuable. You're too valuable.
Well, that's a bit of a bummer, isn't it? Not entirely unexpected. And while I'd like to say I do hate to leave you all on a cliffhanger, past events have shown that that would be nothing but a big fat hairy lie. Because a cliffhanger, once again, is exactly what I'm going to be leaving you on. I hope you've enjoyed it so far, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.